Welcome back to the channel. We're doing something a little different today. We should be doing cleanup because we got a lot of mess going on. But we got an old early 80s, I believe it's an 80, Suzuki 750 GS parked up in the old shop. One of my buddies was storing up here. And what we're doing is we're going to do a custom paint job on the tank and on the plastics. And we're basically going to paint a Chevy gold color on the tank first and let that dry. And when that's dry, we're going to wet sand the whole thing, and we're going to put a dark Chevy truck blue color on top, but we're going to tape off where we want it to be striped. So we're not going to have these pinstripes that are stickers. Now these ones are clear coated in. I don't know if that's original or not somewhere, so it probably would be. The nice thing with that is any gas leaking down the tank doesn't lift your stickers off. So they would color them, pinstripe them, clear coat right over top. We're going to get rid of the Suzuki stuff and, you know, whatever writing. So that'll be cool. Now here's kind of what we're going for. We're going to put a wide stripe right here. Now once that's off, if it don't look quite good enough there, we might go like say a little wider, say 1.5 times the tape down this way. And then on the tank, and I should have done this before I soaked it, but you can see what we want to do there. That's the top of the tank. Where the green is roughly the stripe. So, I mean, the stripe's not taped up by no means. What it was is when the bike was dropped off last year, we ran the tape where we wanted it, and that's where the customer was happy. It looked like some sort of, you know, more of a Japanese racing style kind of deal. So, there was all kinds of gook and grunge. We wiped some off with a towel and some brake cleaner, let that dry, and now it was a little bit grimy here and there, so we hit it with some spray 9. We're going to see if that'll take a lot of it off. Let me get you nice and close. I don't know if people are interested in the motorcycle content or not. I don't usually bother with too much of it. But in the last few years, I haven't had a lot of it either, so there's that. So if I keep the tank right about where it is, what if we come over to here? And you can see right down in there where all the black is. And we're just taking one of our half worn out Scotch-Brites. We're going to dip it in some of that soap. Now, this will wet sand some of the paint finish, but that's okay because we want to sand this all down anyway. We definitely want to scrub all the grime out of these edges. And I mean everywhere, really. And as long as we keep it wet with the spray 9, it'll keep degreasing and degreasing. You don't want it to kind of dry back on. Now it's not as sticky or oily as it was, which is why we use some brake cleaner first. I suppose you could use like an acetone or something, but the brake cleaner I find, we use that Clean Flow, what's it called, 313. And I know they've changed it in Canada recently, so I don't know if it's as good. I always bought like 10, 12 cans at a time and use them until they run out. But what I find is you use the brake cleaner on the greasy stuff and it dries it out. So you're dealing with flaky, dirty, chunky stuff as opposed to sticky, greasy, tar-like stuff. So that's always, you know, easier to deal with. And in the top we're not too worried about. We'll just clean that with our wax and grease remover later. Well, maybe some waterborne first, some glass cleaner. Then wax and grease remover. And then we'll sand the top. Now the bottom, we're probably going to epoxy coat the whole tank. There's a little bit of a ding there. So we're gonna put a few coats on. The ding's small. I think if we use our hybrid epoxy, which is the CRE 321, and we'll put about 3 super fat bumpy layers on it. Now the downside to that is we're going to have to block the whole tank until it looks nice. but I mean, that won't come off the way a filler will. But on the other hand, the dent that I'm talking about, I don't even think will show up on camera. It's very, very minor. So even if we did put filler, we'd probably be all right. We taped off, I don't know if that's an air vent or a return or one here, and then this one we just jammed a nail into. So, you know, we don't want any crap getting into the tank. All right, so let's rinse it off and see where we're at. Spray bottle used to be Windex, and now it's just water. There we go. Before we lose all of our greasy grind power, there's a little ledge down around the edge here. And when people wash their bike, they're probably not cleaning that edge up. So we'll give that a quick scuff and degrease as well. Looked clean earlier, but I guess I didn't look at it real well. So now, I guess, yeah, everything's sticky. Now I always tape these. If you're wondering what's on top of the sawhorses, these are just wooden sawhorses, and you'll see there's tape running across the tops. And when we're done this job and the cleaning, everything, we'll peel that tape off. And then when it's all dried out, we'll put a new piece of tape on. That way you can always have that clean surface for putting your stuff on. Well, lucky for us, we're painting all this, so we're just going to use the Scotch pad because some of this is dried on from leaking around. So let me get that wet and gooey, and then we'll rinse it off, and I'll show you some close-ups of the tank, and we'll go over it. I'm being honest, I haven't really looked at it that good. This is just kind of the initial clean so we can look at it and see what we're going to do. And we're going to leave the tape right on there. Later I'm going to take some measurements because we're going to want to know exactly where to lay out that tape line. We're going to have to take it all off to sand it, but I'll take a bunch of pictures first just to make sure we're putting it right in the same place where we had it before, because that's where the customer wanted it. But if you look down where it says Suzuki, there's a screw right there and one up there somewhere. So what I'm going to do now, actually the first thing I'm going to do, let me set this up more like a table. Sometimes the tanks hang good this way, but I think we're going to make a flat table and put that big piece of cardboard over there on it. Let's see. Bear with me here, just, yeah, that happened. Just throwing a little mini bungee cord on here. This is not a camera, it's a phone. So, oh, look at that, that came right out, no problem. A modern bike, it'd have a sticker, or the decal would have double-sided tape behind it. I see, okay. Now here's something that you got to account for. So if you want a smooth tank, there's like a plate welded into the tank where they reinforced it, probably so they'd have room to have screw holes there. But This isn't chrome, this one's gold. So what we might do is keep those on. Wow, I bet they've never been out of this bike since 1980 when the bike was built, and they just came right out. So that's nice. That's always a good sign. It's nice when you don't have to fight. Well, the side's a little stiffer coming out, but it came out just the same. There we go. Well, none of them are stripped or anything, and they're not rusty, so good quality. If you were taking this off like a early 2000s bike, these screws would probably be, you know, a little bit deteriorated. I find the newer things get, the worse the metal seems to be that they're putting in stuff. So I don't know if you guys are seeing that or not, but I find that seems to be the case more often than not. Oh, it's stuck to the screwdriver, so there we go. And I guess we have to clean that, because whatever grunge got under there didn't come off. And so spray 9, it's an old bottle. I buy the 4 liters and I pour it in. Just going to give that one squirt, just so we can get this off. And then we'll spray it with some water and wipe it down as well after, just to get the spray 9 off. But again, we're going to be cleaning, you know, the whole entirety of everything with acetone or wax and grease remover. First we'll do water-based cleaner. So I get it's like an industrial glass cleaner that the windshield guys use. So I'll use that first, and then I'll use the wax and grease remover behind it. And I mean, that way you've got the oils off, you've got the grunge, the crud, you got all the things off. So you'll see on a lot of car channels where they use a water-based cleaner and then they use a solvent-based, and I think that's why. So I've been doing that because the extra precaution definitely doesn't hurt. But that's our tank. If you look in here, there's a little bit of grunge yet. We'll take a little toothbrush or something and clean that crap out. Now it's very important, we don't want to lose those little threads, so we're going to put a little round sticker there and there so that primer and junk won't get in, and we will paint right over that, but we should be able to take a little plastic pick, give it a rub and peel that out so that those are still open. There's no rust or anything, so that's awesome. I doubt you could retap those because they're pretty shallow, but the screws came out good, there's no rust, so we're happy. We might even just tape off this bar, but everything else will be painted. Now these pinstripes are trapped underneath the clear. And look, they come apart anyway, and you can see the line there where the clear breaks off. You know, nothing wrong with them. It was actually done pretty well that it lasted this long on an older bike. So that's pretty cool. Now the bottom of the tank, like I said, we'll tape off the important stuff. We'll epoxy the whole bottom, and that'll make us happy. Nothing will leak. We're not going to probably paint the bottom of the tank, but when we catch this outer edge and lip, we'll probably get a good chunk of the bottom of the tank, and then obviously it's going to overspray, which is fine. We're going to do it like the factory did. So, well, in this case, it's actually pretty nice. But a lot of these bikes, when you'll take the tank off and look at them, you know, they're kind of grungy and oversprayed. This one's actually pretty good. Let me bring you up close. But if you look right here, see the paint was real thin there. And from here, yeah, see there's shine at the back, but then as you come up to here, it's like overspray. And then here it was so thin that a little bit of rust come through. So I think what we're going to do here, we're going to sand that out a little bit. We're going to pour 15 just that little area. We're just going to do the one coat, because it's not that bad. That should be enough. And when that dries, we'll give it a little bit of a scuff. And then we're going to epoxy the whole bottom of the tank. And what I would really like to do, we're going to come in here. You can see that crease. So it doesn't look like this tank's in bad shape at all, which is nice. But we're going to blow that out and clean it as good as we can. And when we epoxy this, that's likely going to seal that right shut. So we definitely want that to be cleaned. We're going to blast acetone in there, scrub it right in there as much as we can so that, you know, just so that there's no impurities or any garbage. Now, if you had a bunch of rust and bubbling coming through the metal here on the seam, you would have to cut that out and weld that shut. So having a good tank to start definitely doesn't hurt. And I mean, there's two theories to that. So if you have a little split like that, the way they're made, one theory is leave it open so it can dry out. The other theory is seal it completely so it can never get wet. So you're going to have to make that choice for yourself. But, I mean, technically we could paint the top of this tank and not do nothing to the bottom and it would be just fine. But I mean, you would want to do something here just to slow that down. By the time that would actually rust through, you got to keep in mind the rest of the bike is probably done by then, right? So you can see a little bit of dirty water coming out from behind this. The gasket's an O-ring or something up in here, and this is just sitting, so junk gets up in there. But, you know, once it dries and we get most of that out, that won't be a problem. You know, we got this plugged, that plugged, and that plugged. The tape's barely on there, but it was just to protect it from, you know, soaps and waters and junk getting in. Anyway, so that's our tank. And we'll do another video later.